Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Box Office Receipts. I'm your host, Tyler Callahan, and we have witnessed history this weekend. This weekend was so special, I am changing up the format for today, and we're going straight into talking about Avengers Endgame. So Endgame came out this weekend, and it has been shattering records almost every hour. So where do we start? Well, before the weekend, most analysts had it around 270 to 290 million opening weekend. I was thinking around 280 to 290 million as well. And this is for domestic. Now, this would have given it the biggest domestic opening weekend ever, and the question was at the time, could this even hit the magical 300 million mark? Now, for a worldwide opening, a lot of people were thinking 900 million to maybe a billion, thanks to China opening at the same time, something that did not happen with Infinity War. Well, after Friday, we knew we were looking at something special here. Reports are coming in all over the world that theaters were adding showtimes and could not keep up with demand. This happened the entire weekend and has given us the highest numbers ever. So for the domestic opening weekend, Avengers Endgame did around $356 million. And for worldwide, $1.22 billion. Just to give you an idea of what just happened, in one weekend, Avengers Endgame just became the highest grossing movie of the year, passing Captain Marvel. For international numbers, China is going strong at around $335 million in its 5 days since opening. And in most countries, this is breaking records. So a huge congrats to Marvel Studios and Disney. They fucking killed it and are well on their way to at least becoming the second highest grossing movie worldwide. Now that does lead me into my next point I want to bring up, and that could this actually beat Avatar? That is a question a lot of analysts, including me, are thinking about now. If you haven't watched my summer movie box office video on YouTube, give it a watch. But there I talk about how Endgame would hit around 2.5 billion worldwide, and that it would not beat Avatar. However, I think after this opening weekend, that discussion needs to happen. I now think there is a chance that Endgame could do it, but it really depends on repeat viewings. I look at these numbers and I have to think how many went out of their way to see it and plan to see it again and again, and how many went to see it just so they don't get spoiled. This is something we will see next weekend, and from there we can determine if this will have good legs or not. I think it will. Haven't seen the movie myself. While the theme itself is about loss and there are some dark moments, there are a lot of good and funny moments that people want to see again and again. At this point, I'm going to say at the very least, Avengers Endgame will beat The Force Awakens and will become the highest grossing movie domestically. For worldwide and beating Avatar, well, I'm going to wait on that one. Now that we talked about Endgame, there were obviously other movies playing, so let's go over the top 5 for the weekend. In first place is obviously Avengers Endgame with $356 million. In second place is Captain Marvel with $8 million for a total of $413 million. So I thought it would rebound to third, but just like Endgame, it did better than expected. This is also the first time in history where a franchise has 2 movies in first and second place at the box office. Another record broken by Marvel Studios. In third place is The Curse of La Llorona with $7.5 million for a total of $41.2 million. Fourth place is Breakthrough with $5.3 million for a total of $26.1 million. Lastly, in fifth place is Shazam with $5.5 million for a total now of $131.1 million. There will be no international update for other movies since Endgame has made everything else slow to a crawl. Now for this weekend, we do have a few smaller movies coming out as counter-programming to Avengers. First up is a romantic comedy called Long Shot, a thriller movie with The Intruder, and an animated movie called Ugly Dolls. Now obviously none of them will top Avengers, but how will the rest of the top 5 shake out? My predictions are in first place, Avengers Endgame. Second place, Long Shot. Third place, Ugly Dolls. Fourth place, Captain Marvel. Fifth place, The Intruder. So I think Ugly Dolls is a train wreck incoming. I've seen no hype for it, and for kids they will still want to either see Avengers, or they'll wait and see Pokemon the following week. This should allow Long Shot to take a solid second place, and for The Intruder it is only opening to around 2,200 theaters, so I feel that will hurt it a bit. Captain Marvel I still expect to stay up there due to the Avengers. That is it for this week's episode. Now before this ends, I do want to plug something. Last week I put up the first video for my summer box office series. The video went over my thoughts and predictions for the movies in May. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, I think you'd like this as well. A link to the episode will be included in the episode details. As always, you can follow me on Instagram at Tyler Callahan Media. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.